Meanwhile, confidential Obamacare Navigator training manual uploaded online. This just went up seconds ago. It refreshed and was there, red linked. I'm going to print that and find out what's happening there. That's the torture of this job. I've got literally over 100 stories I want to get to. And then now the Navigator manual has been leaked, and it's up at Capital City Project. By the way, these navigators, they've been hiring known criminal groups. They've been hiring known groups involved with all sorts of mafia ties and people that have been indicted for stealing millions, and they're getting your Social Security numbers, everything. Now it's being reported by KGW, as we got to yesterday, that people are trying to go sign up for these things and getting their bank accounts debited. Well, of course, it's getting all your private data. It's designed to be a giant screw job to see if they can get away with it. Oh, it's a mistake. Oh, I conked you on the head. Oh, you know, guy walks in, you're in bed with his wife, and you go, it's a mistake. I just fell into bed with your wife, and oh, this is a horrible accident today. Also coming up, school bans display of Christmas poster. Kids are supposed to paint their own poster. It's your individual poster. As long as it's not obscene, that's your First Amendment. The school, if it's a government training camp, under their interpretation of separation of church and state, isn't supposed to endorse an official religion. Because you're not supposed to have a state-run religion. But you can bring a Bible to school. You can tell people out at the playground that you love Jesus Christ, or that you love worshiping, you know, Chinese food if you want. I mean, it's just that you hate Christmas, you love Christmas. It's your First Amendment. This political correctness is about banning any free speech, any personal views. So that is a big deal. School bans display of Christmas poster by student because it might be religious. And then folks don't even get that it's First Amendment. It has nothing to do with whether it's religious or not. Schools are trying to tell people they can't wear crosses around their necks. And look at it. It's actually not even really Christian. It says Merry Christmas. And then it's got that Night Before Christmas. Who's the guy that puts out all those kids' horror movies? Tim Burton. It's got the Tim Burton Christmas skeleton on it. So this kid's probably not even a Christian. And that's not even allowed, even though they'll show movies like that at the school. It's only when you individually do something it's not allowed. When the state does it, it's all allowed. The state can be armed. You can't be armed. The state has its speech to demonize the founders, but you don't have any free speech. So we're going to be getting to all that. And we need an article out, because this article that Steve Watson did is a great article that details what happened, but pointing out that you as an individual in your art class, if you're a Muslim, you can paint a picture of Mecca. If they say paint whatever you want. If you're a Christian, you can paint a picture of a cross. If your dad's a Marine Corps captain, and they say paint a picture of your parents, which is what happened in one case, and the honor student painted a picture of his father with an M16, he was arrested. There's been several of those cases. Arrested. Arrested. Oh my gosh, the image of a gun, we're arresting you. Kids have Nerf guns in their own backyards, they get arrested. And then, of course, here's the big story that's up on Infowars.com. Boston bomber believed he was a victim of mind control. That should probably be red-linked. That should probably be red-linked, folks. That is so bombshell. And Watson's got a little bit of this in his article, but he kind of goes with the news angle where he just reports the latest thing. We should probably add to the story, and I'm going to try to twist Watson's arm to come on at the bottom of the hour. Tamerlan Tsarnaev, on record, was in a State Department CIA-sponsored program being sent to Chechnya, and the FBI had him under close surveillance. Then they said they never heard of him. Remember that lie? Folks, he was clearly a double agent, bare minimum, and now he says he was mind-controlled, and he is the exact type of candidate. Disappears for months on a government junket. That's when they do it to you. I mean, this is incredible.
Now you can watch the InfoWars Nightly News streaming live as it happens for free.
Check it out at Infowars.com/show.
We are live, ladies and gentlemen, and broadcasting worldwide. There is total hysteria and fear, and classes shut down at Harvard over a suspicious package or report of explosives, and they are again, using this to make this the top story, to project the idea that there's an epidemic of bombings and terror in this country. And, of course, the truth is you have a better chance of being killed by a deer jumping out in front of your car, being stung by a wasp, or being bit by a water moccasin and dying. Water moccasins kill hundreds every year, so do honeybees, than you do being killed by a terrorista. And then most of these events turn out to be mentally ill. Even the New York Times admits that. Literally 99% of the several hundred foiled bomb plots turn out to be FBI finding people with 70, 75, 80 IQs, low-grade morons, who are also mentally ill, and winding them up. Black nationals, white nationals, Muslim extremists, whatever the case is, winding them up, commanding them, being their leader, recruiting them, introducing the idea to them. Folks, I could go, hypothetically, right now, but I wouldn't do a report like this because they could spin it and say that I was actually planning a terror attack, but I could go out and find schizophrenic homeless people in Austin right now, and offer them $10,000 to talk about how they're going to blow up a federal building or something, and then I could have them meet me the next day there to drive a van to it, filled with chocolate cakes or something. Guaranteed. It's that easy. I might check with lawyers and even call the FBI and tell them I'm going to do it, just so it's all on record so they don't claim I'm doing something, just to have them stop doing this. And, of course, the argument here is that they're doing this to foil attacks. Well, if somebody saw their neighbor talking about blowing something up and then saw them doing something in their garage that looked like explosives with barrels or something, that's probable cause. SWAT team and find out what's going on. Or if somebody really was shooting their mouth off about, I want to kill people and blow stuff up, and then the FBI came to them and said, yeah, we ought to do that, and then gave them a bomb, that would still be kind of entrapment, but it might be legal in some arguments. I get... you know, the fact that if you think somebody's already doing something, bring it up to them to see what they're up to. That's a classic police tactic for thousands of years. But it's not legal or lawful to go out and find mentally ill people and do this. So it's particularly disgusting and shameful to have this going on. And the truth is, it's come out now that the majority, the vast majority of these plots turn out to be staged. And this is how they absolutely hype the living daylights out of it. Look at the headlines on drudgereport.com right now. Terror scare at Harvard during finals. And then under it, confidential Obamacare Navigator training manual uploaded online. That just went live minutes ago. We're going to cover that. Separately under it, our Infowars.com story. Boston bomber believed he was victim of mind control. Ladies and gentlemen, this just went from absolutely evidence that this was a staged event, overwhelming evidence with the drills and the stand-downs and the older brother being on the CIA payroll. Oh, that came out in the foreign press. British, Russian. It was confirmed he had a fake name. The Russian embassy said, is this guy a spy? They did this 3 years ago, 2 years before the bombing. They said, is this guy a spy for you? Because you let him fly with a fake name. And he's going to Chechnya and hanging out with rebels. And we know you run those rebels on record. Our government and NATO run the al-Qaeda forces in the Balkans and into the southern belly of Russia, into the Caucasus. That's all on record. A few months ago, the head of Saudi intelligence, Bandar, threatened publicly in Moscow at a meeting and said, we will trigger al-Qaeda to blow up the Olympics if you don't back off and do a peace deal in Syria. That's how dumb they think Westerners are, is that the Saudis can publicly threaten to activate al-Qaeda forces against the Russians and send in people like Tamerlan Zarnev. We don't know if he was a triple crosser, double agent, triple agent, set up, not set up. All we know is there was a drill of bombs going off at the finish line, and that's been confirmed. All we know is there was a stand down. All we know is the FBI lied and said we don't know who Tamerlan Zarnev is, when it turns out he was being handled by them, surveilled by them, followed in with a whole community in Florida and in Georgia and in New York and New Jersey and in Boston, Massachusetts. He was all over the country with Playboy glasses on and expensive $1,000 jackets on, driving brand new Mercedes Benzes without a job, being playboys, obviously some type of intelligence asset. And then he told friends, the Boston Globe now reports, he told friends, I'm under mind control. Folks, it's not like he's a schizophrenic on the street corner saying this. This guy fits the look, the musculature, a guy that thinks he's a commando, a kickboxer. They recruit him, a narcissism, the whole 9 yards for a decoy candidate for a born supremacy, born legacy type program. And by the way, those programs are declassified. The earlier programs, they had total mind control power by the 70s when they had the church hearings and others. Total mind control if they pick the right type of candidate. Other people will run off, go crazy, or kill themselves if they have a high moral fiber and are not narcissist. But with narcissists and those that already are mentally ill, they can break up their personalities with electroshock, drugs, all the rest of it. This is a complex area. There's a lot of different sciences that go into it. I'm just a lay researcher of it. They are able to absolutely imprint them with the program that they're basically a movie star doing this, and they feel so happy and so excited when they carry out the terror attack. Just like in the remake of the Manchurian Candidate with Denzel Washington, excellent film. You want to know mind control? That's how they do it. And when he gets the keywords, he smiles, feels great, and is a movie star. And it's the same deal with this hypnotism that they do under drugs, electroshock, and that's old technology, folks. The stuff they've got now is viruses they inject that literally attack areas of the brain so you don't have inhibition. Then they give them amnesics to wipe that. Then they give them an amnesic again to trigger the operation. Sirhan, it came out in the police reports, was under mind control, given a proto-halcyon type drug. That's the patsy shooter of RFK, who was the cover guy for Robert F. Kennedy. And then they had a known CIA agent behind him. The police even on record said that's where the shots came from, that shot him in the back. Look it up, folks. It's all on record. It's actually all come out. That's what's so frustrating about all this. Theodore Kaczynski, the Unabomber, was in MK Ultra, LA Times. Look it up. Alexander Cockburn, award-winning journalist, broke that. The documents were leaked and then declassified fully. The fact that he was in the program. He was in the program for a decade as a student, graduate student, and then adjunct. Kaczynski, total cutout setup. Who else said he was under mind control? Holmes, ladies and gentlemen, the so-called Batman shooter. Didn't know who he was when the SWAT team showed up, clearly drugged, put next to cells saying, flipping out on drugs for 2 days, saying, I'm under mind control, help me, they did it. He checked himself in, his dad, top algorithm scientist in the government and private corporations. He goes into an advanced DARPA above Air Force level program run by the Air Force, but Space Command, mind control, astronaut brain interface where the astronauts think and it controls the suits. He goes into an advanced brain machine mind control interface. This is on record. Has an Air Force colonel over him. He's full-time paid in a national top secret security level program, and goes from being a kid genius to having red hair and going and shooting people, even though they reported multiple shooters, smoke, all of it, people announcing, stay in your chairs, everything's safe. It was totally rigged. And he's out in the parking lot drooling. And then when it came out that all these people came out of the jail and said he was saying he was under mind control, he was screaming, and they took him away. The police came out and said, we're sealing all that, but he was always in solitary around no one. He was never in a general area where anyone could hear him, even though it had been in the paper earlier that they talked to the police who weren't part of it. The jail guard said, yeah, he was screaming, he was yelling, saying he was under mind control. It's not like it's only happening a few places here. Tamerlan Zarnev was in a Georgetown State Department CIA program. On record, undoubtedly. And the media here will not touch it. He's flying by fake names. Would you like me to continue, folks? Would you like me to continue going down the line? Ladies and gentlemen, you could take one look at Adam Lanza. and all his government connections and his family. And one look at him trying to get guns 5 times. And one look at the stand down and the man caught with a gun in the woods in camo and black top that matched Lanza. And all the rest of it. They killed real people there, and now they've bulldozed the building. Wasn't all actors, but you watch it, folks, it's undoubtedly actors coming out, laughing, going, watch this, and then doing their fake cry over and over again, and then kids that were photographed coming out still alive. They are running major psyops. And you're like, well, why actually kill real people then? But then have actors. You want the actors to put out your official story and not come out and say, oh, I'm pro-gun, I'm sorry my kid's dead, but don't blame gun owners. These are major, 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 major psyops being run. And Paul Watson's coming up to break it down. But that story's on Infowars.com. Right now, Boston Bomber believed he was a victim of mind control. And folks, remember, we sent our reporter to those press conferences to bring up the drills and to bring up the other people with backpacks, and the police would freak out covering it up. The InfoWars crew absolutely loves coffee because we love being awake. And I am somewhat of a connoisseur of coffee. So many times you go to a restaurant or even to a coffee shop and the coffee tastes like garbage. And in all the different coffees I've tried, my favorite is grown in the high mountains, in shade, Arabica, on the border with Guatemala in southern Mexico by the Chiapas farmers. I make sure we've done the research. I make sure it's the very best product that we can offer you when I put my name on it. And I believe, and it's my taste, so you may differ, that this is the best coffee in the world from southern Mexico. Wake Up America Patriot Blend, 100% organic, Arabica shade grown. And then we have the Immune Support, 100% organic coffee, infused with a special type of mushroom known to boost the immunity.
This coffee is seriously so smooth. I normally have to douse my coffee with cream and sugar and cinnamon and all kinds of tasty treats, but this, I drink this black. It is so good.
Well, that's why I like it, is that it has a kick, it has really good caffeine in it, it has a good clean wake up that lasts for a long time, doesn't give me a headache, but it's so smooth, it's so delicious. Just try it out for yourself. I'm telling you, this is my favorite coffee. We went through a lot of trouble to bring you this. Just try it, and I think you'll be hooked like we are here at InfoWars. Well, folks, find out for yourself and support the information war today. It's all available at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. Well, folks, last week, Russian government officially threatened to nuke Western Europe and the United States if offensive missiles are moved into their areas, meant to be able to shoot down their response to a preemptive nuclear attack. Official U.S. policy under the New World Order has changed in the last decade to preemptive strikes, telling Russia and China, we may decide to attack you with nuclear weapons at any time. So Russia and China, and I'm not romanticizing them, they're other big predatory power blocks, they said, okay, we reserve the right to nuke you first as well. And so their deputy prime minister came out officially and said, we will respond with nukes. That is a quote. Now it is being reported that Russia is moving missiles into its western region, bordering Poland and other nations. The exact missiles, the Iskander missile system is being moved in. Russia has deployed the missiles with a range of hundreds of kilometers in the Baltic Sea enclave of Kaliningrad, which borders NATO members Poland, Lithuania. The newspapers are reporting today. The paper reports came after German newspaper Bild reported on Saturday that secret satellite imagery showed the Iskander-M missiles stationed near the Polish border. The reports caused alarm in the Baltic states, which are wary of Russian military movements after decades of dominance by the Soviet Union. Well, why? I mean, the West is moving missiles in the Russian border. Why should you be alarmed? Why should we be alarmed about giant war tanks and armored vehicles and bullets and training manuals that it's for the American people are being massed all around us. Why should we be alarmed? They're putting in an NSA surveillance grid and spying on us illegally and putting fluoride in the water and bisphenol A in the plastic and admitting it's to dumb us down and sterilize us. Why should we be concerned about the big banks saying they'll just take our bank accounts or take our private and public pension funds? Or why should we be worried about the Federal Reserve devaluing the dollar and gearing up for total war with us? I mean, never mind these anti-missile missiles and anti-personnel missiles and missiles that can carry nuclear warheads, medium range and short range strategic nuclear weapons. Big deal. What's the big deal? It's kind of like in Caddyshack where Bill Murray's dropping the plastic explosive gophers and squirrels and rabbits. He's like, nothing to worry about, Mr. Gopher. Just your friend squirrel. Not a plastic explosive or anything. I mean, this is what's going on as we're all being surrounded by tyranny. And look, I don't live in Russia. I don't live in China. I don't like their tyrannies. But they're not offensive tyrannies like our government is, because our government's been captured by the globalist and is absolutely savaging our basic freedoms and needs to be put back on a leash. It's like Napoleon or Hitler or Genghis Khan or Julius Caesar involved in these offensive operations that we pay for that don't even benefit us and that endanger the entire world. So a bunch of crazy globalist bankers can make the planet accept their global cashless society, and so they can take over the planet. Everybody wants to rule the world, the song says. Well, I don't. I just want to have a future. And I am sick and tired of these globalists, and I know you're sick and tired of them as well. And I hope that cooler heads prevail, but this is very, very worrisome. Poland is freaking out. Reuters is reporting Poland is worried about the possibility that Russia has deployed the missiles to the Baltic enclave of Kaliningrad and will consult its NATO partners on the issue, the foreign ministry said today. The plans to deploy the new Iskander-M rockets to Kaliningrad are worrying. The Russians said last year they'd do that if they move missiles in. You move missiles up to our border, we move missiles up to your border. The ministry said in a statement, commenting on reports in Russia, a German media said the missiles had been deployed. Folks, imagine if you walked outside and your neighbor was pointing a gun at you for no reason. You would call the police. But if you lived out in the frontier, you couldn't call the police, or it's another government. They are the police. They're pointing a gun at you. And so you start saying, okay, honey, kids, go out the back door, drive out the back, don't drive out the front, or don't go in the front yard or the backyard, wherever the gun's aimed at you. And you would put a gun up, aiming out your window at them. See, we're losing the moral high ground. The globalists run our country now, and they're moving missiles in and pointing them at the Russians so that when cruise missiles or bombers or ICBMs come in, the Russians can't fire their anti-missile systems at them. And the Russians can't get their missiles in a counter-response back. They're being moved into check and then checkmate. And so the Russians are saying, okay, well, we're going to move. You know, the Russians know how to play chess, folks. Most of the world champions come out of Russia. They go, I mean, this is like checkers, though. You move missiles up to us, we move missiles up to you. Why did the Russians try to put missiles in Cuba? Because the West put nuclear missiles in Turkey. It's the same deal. So that's what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with Paul Watson and the latest on the Boston bomber.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
Documents reveal states' move to vastly expand continuity of government powers. That's a Mikhail Thalen report up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, originally originating at StoryLeak.com. And this document out of Washington State talks about warfare with the American people and says Washington Military Department. The state has a military department modernizing state's continuity of operation planning. And again, it always has the cover of emergencies. And this is a inside document. But the larger issue in all this is that they want to amend the state constitution to basically suspend rights. So it's the phasing in of martial law. And I have great writers, great researchers. The problem is they tend to not even go all the way when something's really happening, because it's almost journalistic to hold back. But the only way you can name this, the only way you can accurately say what it is state moves to repeal due process, or state moves towards martial law, permanent martial law. I mean, that's what it is. They want to get rid of due process during COG. Well, there's already plans in place if there was a real COG issue, like a nuclear attack or a volcano going off. This is the opposite, folks. This is all about political control. And it's happening not just here, but in Japan, and in Russia, and in China, and in England, and in Germany, and all over South Africa, and all over Latin America. Governments everywhere have made conscious decisions to move towards authoritarianism. And there's battles now for the undersea floor and minerals. There's battles for the North Pole and the South Pole now, politically, as governments line up and declare they own them. There's battles with China declaring the moon is theirs. And this is the same type of stuff you see with the South China Sea fights between China and between Japan and now South Korea. All of this is heating up because you have global devaluation of currencies. All the major governments, whether it's the yuan or whether it's the yen or whether it is the Russian currency or the euro currency or the dollar, they're all set to dollars worldwide. And so they're all racing each other on who can inflate the currencies the fastest. And when the musical chair stops and the hand grenade that's being passed around blows up, it's going to cause a chain reaction. And I don't know how bad it's going to be. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, because they've got computers, gaming and all, and over-the-horizon, future-predicting mass models where they can have a controlled implosion and the system can guide it for themselves. The system can use the calamities in their own words and their own documents to bring in the total tyranny worldwide. So I was on Ron Paul's TV show this morning, and he kept hammering the fact that we've got to blame the collectivist, the corporatist, the crony capitalist, the insiders for what they've done, because they're going to try to bring in total tyranny on the backs of the crises that they've helped engineer. Don't let a good crisis go to waste. In fact, engineer the crisis to take over. That's the plan. And so this is now the fight. This is so huge, what's going on, what's happening. And you've got all these different governments lining up for a fight right now. And you've got the globalists who have interest in every country playing us all off against each other. And Russia moving in nuclear-tipped missiles to fast attack Europe with these Iskander missiles that anti-missile defense systems cannot stop, according to what they claim. So this is what the establishment is doing. And they will threaten the whole world and bring us to the brink of thermonuclear war to basically intimidate different political classes into doing what the New World Order wants. And the New World Order is the Anglo-American establishment that used the West, wealth, and liberty to build the greatest tyranny, because liberty builds wealth, and they skimmed off the wealth of liberty to build a tyranny. Now they're getting ready to phase out the engine of liberty that built their empire to secure their dominance over us while they launch out to take over what's left of the world from other criminal predatory groups, the Russians, the Chinese, power blocks. And we are all stuck in the middle of this. And whether you're Russian, Chinese, or American, or British, we're all human beings. We all love our children. Let me ask men a question. Do you find Russian beauties particularly beautiful? Why don't you want to love the Russian people instead of kill them? Russians love American cowboy culture and fast cars and James Dean and all the rest of it. Why don't we be friends with the Russians? Well, the globalists don't want us to do that. That's why they put the communist in 1917 to make that place 10 times worse. They took the czarist evil and put something 10 times worse in. I don't support the czarists, the white Russians. That was a tyranny as well. Just like I don't support apartheid, but I don't support communism, something even more scientifically evil in place of it. So see, there's the difference, ladies and gentlemen, and we owe Russia an apology for letting the robber barons, who couldn't capture us completely because we had checks and balances and Americans wouldn't put up with it. Americans had shooting wars with the feds and with Pinkerton Security and all the rest of them out west and all over the country when they tried to enslave us. You see that in all these movies like Open Range and stuff. That's based on basically true stories. There were thousands of fights like that. So they couldn't dominate us, but there was already a centralized empire in Russia. There was already a centralized tyranny ready to fall over, rotting. And so they came over and put commies in. And that's what they do. They use the depression in Russia to put communists in. They use the collapsing China after a 6-year war with the Japanese. It was going on before World War II even started, to come in and then put Mao Zedong. We owe the Chinese people an absolute apology for letting the robber barons use us as a base, use our tax money, our troops, our intelligence to bring down Russia, to bring down China, and set in its place horrible, demonic, goblin-like governments who would make deals with them. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable evil. 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 And that's the truth of the world, folks. That's the real geopolitical setup right now. They don't want mainline secular Muslims, secular government in the Middle East. They want Al-Qaeda, chopping women's private parts off, running around, blowing stuff up, pulling down monuments, burning up libraries. That's what they're going to put. They want degradation. They want collapse. While they sit in Switzerland and Luxembourg and London and New York City and in armored redoubts in the Bahamas and in Tasmania and in the Cook Islands, the globalists want to sit there while they wreck the world and play us all off against each other. I got an idea. How about we wake up and say, no, humanity's going to the stars. We're working together under true free market. We're going to honor and make rock stars, scientists, and inventors, and good fathers and good mothers. We're going to build up men. We're going to build up women. We're going to build up the family. We're going to have space colonies. We're going to work globally together through national nation states and true diversity, but combining together in a 1776 worldwide liberty conference to decide on the goals of the nation states moving forward together. It can be held once a year in a great 2-week Congress for agreed upon goals, and then go back to the nation states and see if they agree, and unify humanity around goals and around human empowerment. The opposite of what they want to unify us under: tyranny and evil and degradation, and a future without humanity, where the elite control the future and merge with machines and believe they're God. They have no right to govern our destiny. They have no spiritual right. They have no moral right. They are the last people that should be governing our destiny. They are a danger to everyone on this planet, and when they've committed crimes, they need to be locked up, not running society. I'm going to go to Paul Watson here in a moment with huge breaking news. But first, we are listener-supported, ladies and gentlemen. And you have supported us by the books, the T-shirts, the films that are all about waking people up, all about spreading the word, all about finding local patriots in your area, all about wearing your colors proud. Made in 1776.com, InfoWarsStore.com with all the Made in America